I can now say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is 12:03, and we're about ready to start our program. I thank you very much for attending today. If you wish to get credits for AIA, please go up to the front desk, LEDucation.org. We'd love to hear what you have to say about this program because we'd like to give you many, many more great programs like this. So please send your evaluations into LEDucation.org. Tom Ward, who is our speaker today, is somebody we were just reminiscing about how long we know each other. Just a couple of years, right, Tom? 2 or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6. Anyway, Tom Ward, with his LCIS Member Emeritus, Lead AP, IDC Director of Education Programs, Fine Light, has more than 30 years' experience in the lighting industry, including 17 years with Fine Light. I thought it was just 4 or 5. Oh, okay. Mr. Ward has participated with the New York City School Construction Authority to develop best practices for relighting existing classrooms, and I can attest to that. I've seen some of his work. And with the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, to demonstrate a template for classroom lighting that is affordable, flexible, and consistent with LEEDs for schools and CHIPS, New York. Mr. Ward has presented hundreds of seminars on lighting and energy efficiency, LED technology, LED technology, we don't want to say LEED, and lighting for the aging eye, and has developed several AIA-accredited courses. Mr. Ward strives to help customers light effectively and comfortably using sustainable practices. Tom, please come up and spew your knowledge to the group.
First, I'd like to demonstrate pouring water without shaking. All right, I'll work on that. Good afternoon. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, everybody at DLFNY for inviting Fine Light back to speak. And thanks also to the many manufacturers. How many manufacturers are here? Oh, good. It's awesome. So thanks to all of us for making this financially possible, and DLFNY for making all of this effort come together. I am Tom Ward. I'm Director of Education Programs at Fine Light. I think that's a slightly old bio. This is my 20th year with Fine Light, a company that is both humble and proud at the same time to now be in our 26th year. There's quite a lot of information I'd like to share today, and hopefully leave some time at the end for questions and comments. I'll be happy to hang around later if you want to carry on. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
So I'm curious, how many of you were a member of the lighting community or in any capacity in commercial construction in 1989? Okay, there's some of us. How many of you were not born in 1989? Well, in 1989 or thereabouts, there was a demonstration research project which involved a Ivy League university, a Fortune 25 company, and a preeminent lighting manufacturer of that day, and demonstrated how terrible parabolic fixtures were, if you remember what a parabolic fixture is. And it was a very strong conclusion that people liked indirect lighting. And it was marketed quite well. In fact, it made it all the way to Good Morning America. And as you know, in lighting, we don't often get onto that kind of a national stage. But as strong as the evidence was in the study, it didn't really seem to move the dynamics or the volume of how much indirect lighting was actually used. And it sort of fell to changing the industry by forming a company that focused on high-volume production of linear indirect lighting, and that dramatically lowered cost, reduced lead time, and impacted installation cost. And that dynamic has had an outsized effect on the lighting community. In the following decade, the company participated with Architectural Energy Corporation, NYSERDA, as Bob said, California Energy Commission, several well-known, nationally known designers and others to try to understand in further demonstration research projects what were some lighting dynamics in the classroom. And now, some 26 years later and 10 years, I think, after the last research project on that specific subject, we're again involved with that, collaborating on research that has been set up by the Department of Energy. That research forms the basis of this presentation, and certainly changes to lighting technology have been vast in the last 10 years, but some of the outcomes from those earlier studies are still relevant. And during this past decade, as many of us know from personal experience, the hardware, the educational apparatus in the school classroom has also gone through a lot of changes. So I'd like to just read a brief excerpt from the Department of Energy's request for proposal because I think it sets the stage. They awarded their contract in about June 1st of 2015, so we are 20-some months into an 18-month project. So what they said was, along with the changes in educational pedagogies and technologies, our understanding of lighting's impact on the learning process is growing. Emerging evidence indicates that dynamic lighting systems that allow for variation in illuminance and color quality can affect student attentiveness, comfort, and group interactions. Systems that provide for personal control of lighting have been shown to increase energy savings and user satisfaction. And while a number of studies have documented the benefits of daylighting and views, which underscore views as being highly important, for student learning and health, many of the new display devices being used in classrooms increase concerns about the potential for disabling glare from direct sunlight or from overly bright windows and skylights. The future classrooms needs systems that can optimize the balance between daylight and electric light based on the needs of the classroom. So that document is a little bit more than 2 years old now. Read one more document here, excerpt from something that was just published in February of this year, a joint position paper by Lighting Europe and the IALD on human-centric lighting. I want to be careful with that term. I'm not going to talk about human-centric lighting because that is a vast, complex area. But I am going to read from their introduction that says, light has been known for a long time to enable sight, safety, and orientation. That's the field that we are all very familiar with working in. However, light is not limited to facilitate vision. It has the potential to achieve far more than this. Science has shown that light facilitates powerful, non-visual effects on humans. Light has the ability to improve cognitive performance. It can energize, increase alertness, and ease relaxation. So there's a lot of interest in the dynamic evolution of light now that we're in a solid state era, now that changing intensity has been accepted as a foregone conclusion, and we're rapidly moving into an era where we adjust not only intensity, but the coloration of the light source itself. So lighting the classroom of the future is a look into the future, but the lighting technology for that is already here. The study to understand applications of technology to the classroom and how teachers, designers, professionals, administrators would use the technology. How do they respond to the technology of changing intensity and color? Do they feel the technology has benefit? Well, the study will be published by the lead research entity probably in about 90 to 120 days, one might estimate, but it's already quite clear that the technology has tremendous benefit, and the response is overwhelmingly positive. It's not hard to imagine, just as dimming is something that we all accept as being more desirable, higher preference than switching a light off and on, so too using tunable white and dimming together yields a dynamic environment which affects mood and behavior. May not shock you that in this seminar on education, we're going to start with lighting. So let's talk about the study a little bit and try to understand some of the background context of the study before we get into some of the specific research aspects. We say lighting has quality. What on earth does that mean? I suppose we could retitle this slide to say there are many, many qualitative aspects of light. One thing that this seminar would like to focus on is that aspect of value. What is the value of future-proofing classrooms with tunable white light? Well, value is a tricky word that has a lot of different understandings and meanings, so here's what is meant today by value. It is a worth. Value is the worth of something, and that something is a dynamic. The dynamic is an engaged relationship between the usefulness or the utility and the price or the cost. And those two elements are always going